Hi guys, Andy from Maltbox here, and I'm back here today with another whiskey review. And the whiskey that I'm reviewing for you today, I'm pretty excited about. I'm pretty stoked. And I know I say that quite a lot, but I mean, at the end of the day, I like whiskey. I do videos for it in my spare time. Obviously, I like whiskey. However, the whiskey that I'm looking at today, I've not opened yet. I have tried it. So it's a whiskey that I've not opened, but I have tried, because I have tried it blind on Roy Aquavita's channel. Now, this is not a single malt whiskey. This is a blended malt Scotch whiskey. It comes from two brothers who have been bottling some really top drawer whiskies and rums and various other spirits in the last couple of years. They are a company that I've tried desperately to get bottles of in the past, but I've either been, for whatever reason, either priced out or not quick enough, because they grew their fan base very rapidly and for good reason. The whiskey that I'm looking at is this Thompson Brothers SRV5. Yeah, SRV5. I was making sure it wasn't SVR5. And here it is. So this is a blended malt Scotch whiskey bottled by Thompson Brothers of Dornoch fame. So the two brothers, you've got Phil and Simon. Just take the lid off, as you can see, freshly opened, just for you. Oh, nice little pop. And an SRV5 is kind of one of their, I suppose you could say one of their core range products, really. It's a Solera system, a vatted system, you could argue, of blended malt, where they only ever take, I think it's about a third or 2/3 out of it every time for every release, and then they top it back up again. It is lightly peated, it is non-chill filtered, it is natural colour, because they do things that way. It is bottled at 48.5%. There you go, guys. There's another look at the label. I do love all the artwork on their bottles. Like the single malts in particular are very attractive. And again, I've been wanting to review Thompson Brothers for you guys for ages. I really have. I would have loved to have got hold of their own single malt that they make in their really cool little distillery up there in Dornoch. But unfortunately, it's sold out very quickly, predictably. Now, these two used to run the Dornoch Castle Whisky Bar in the Dornoch Castle Hotel. And I believe they always kind of dreamed of having their own distillery, which they do now. As part of getting funds, I guess, for that distillery project, they started selling whiskey as an independent bottler, and they grew a lot of traction, a lot of fans, because they were doing things right, they were doing things the way they wanted to, they were choosing some fantastic casks, bottling them at really good strengths, very attractive labels, which is important. People shop with their eyes, you buy with your eyes a lot of the time. No matter what we say as enthusiasts, we do buy with our eyes, because they have some lovely artwork on there. I'll try and find an example, actually. I think I have one here. Like this one, for example, this TNA. Little Westy on there, really cool. Nice little label there. Yeah, I think it was last year, tail end of last year or the start of this year, they actually released their inaugural bottle of their own spirit, which I'm sure was fantastic. I was going to say which is fantastic. It's a fantastic achievement, fantastic occasion. I just wasn't able to try any. This, on the other hand, you can, because there's plenty of it about, which is very good. It's accessible to everyone, and it really is. And for me, and I've not even tasted the whiskey yet, the price is fantastic. What they've done is great. They've used their success not to take the piss. And you know, I've never met them. Simon, Phil, if you're kind enough to watch this, I hope you're doing well. As individuals, I don't know them, but from the fact that they're selling this bottle for 35 quid is a testament both to their business acumen and, to be honest with you, their moral compass. So this is an 8-year-old blended malt. So the minimum age, the youngest age of spirit in this vatting is 8 years old. So whenever you see a single malt that says 15 years old, that's not the average, that's not the highest, that is the youngest spirit that's gone into that. Now, let's have a look at you, shall we? Just get my mucky fingerprints off the sides, because I've been grasping my glass like, yes, Thompson's, come on. So lovely, nice light gold there, We've got some very, very slow legs walking down the glass. I am going to clean my bloody glass if I don't get it all over my sleeve like I just did there. You don't want to be seeing my fingerprints on there. It is a clean glass, guys, I do assure you. Now, I've said previously I'm not buying whiskey at the minute. And that is true. I actually said that after I purchased these. These came through last week. You won't know when last week is, because, I mean, for all you guys know, this is 2024, and I'm speaking to you from the future. No, not really. But basically, yeah, these kind of arrived, and I was like, right, do you know what? That's enough for me now. I'm done. I've got enough whiskey for now. Get through some of what I've got. I mean, hell, I'll be honest, at this rate, I've got nearly 300 bottles. I might even have to sell some, which is something I never wanted to do. But realistically, am I ever going to get around to drinking them all? No, probably not, because if I did, I'd probably die. So realistically, let's go through this now. So let's have a chat about this. So blended malt is composed of carefully chosen single malt whiskies. They have all been aged for more than 8 years before being combined and rested in a 1,200 litre European oak vat. If you go on the Thompson Brothers website, they've got a really cool little video that's actually also on YouTube that shows you that vat, which is, you know, really nice little bit of kit. The Solera vat is never fully emptied. Told you. And each batch is left to gently integrate with the whiskey reserved from the previous batch. Now, they also water it down slowly to the bottling strength of 48.5, because there's a belief that, and there's probably some science behind it as well that I'm not too up on, that actually improves rather than just dumping a load of water in it to the strength. If you do it slowly, I believe it's supposed to not enhance the whiskey as such, but, you know, it's supposed to be better for the whiskey to get it to that strength at a slower pace than just dumping a load of water in it and setting off some sort of reaction. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm not a chemist. I'll leave that to the Thompson Brothers. Now, this is lightly peated, and the nose is just, it's lovely. I know it already, it's lovely. And this has only been opened, you've seen me open this from scratch. This has only been opened in a matter of 5 minutes. I mean, it might be longer, I've been ranting, but correct me if I'm wrong. Lemon sherbet sweets. Lovely citrus, sherbety backdrop to it as well. A little bit of pepper. There's almost a little funky element to it as well. A little bit of funk, but it's still quite fresh, quite zesty, quite zippy. A little bit of herb, kind of a herbal note. And yes, it is slightly peated, but it is lovely. It's not, it's going to sound ridiculous, but it's not smoky. It's not heavily smoky. It's not, if you hate peated whiskies, if you hate Lafroy, if you hate Ardbeg, chances are you'll get on with this a little better. It's just adding some structure, some backbone, some strength, some variation to it. It's providing a platform for a lot of those lighter flavours to balance on, and it smells lovely, it smells thick, it smells inviting, it smells well made. I think there's a point in life where you realise that some things are cheap, and they're cheap for a reason. There's some things that you kind of say, you know, it's like buy once for life is one of them, which is the opposite. It's like, you know, buy it whatever, buy it twice. Basically, buy it cheap, buy it twice. This is a case already, I think, of buying it cheap, but buying it twice for good reason. Not because it's not good quality, the opposite, the polar opposite. I don't want to say it reminds me of Springbank, but there are elements to it that do remind me of Springbank. There are. I shouldn't say it, but I am going to. And I'm sorry, Thompson Brothers, but it does a little bit. And it is a good thing. It also has a kind of Clynelish element to it as well for me. A little bit of soot, possibly, ashiness, that sort of like almost waxiness, really, I guess, on the nose. I'm saying it smells thick, it smells rich. You could attribute that to slight waxiness. And you've got the citrus in there. Maybe a little bit of vanilla as well. I don't know, whiskey commentators, whiskey geeks, whiskey tubers, whiskey analysts, whiskey experts, as people may refer to themselves, will often use vanilla as quite a generic tasting note, but to be fair, you do get that quite a lot in a lot of whiskies, particularly if they're ex-bourbon matured. Bit of green apple right on the back. This is good. On the palate, yes boys, just already yes boys. Good texture. Citrus is back, the vanilla's back. The black pepper that I mentioned on the nose, very briefly, is there in abundance on the palate, but it's opening up into what I can only attribute to being the peated element of the spirit. It's got a little bit of drying, almost kind of, I've already mentioned, haven't I, like a sort of ashy, spicy, warming smoke. And that's the bit actually that sort of stays behind. It's like a bit of char in your mouth. It's like you've eaten burnt ends at a barbecue or a particularly well done rib. You know, it's got char on it. It's quite crispy and crunchy. There's a little bit like, you know, overcooked bacon kind of thing going on, like where it's just like glass, like bacon glass, rather than crispy bacon. It's where it's gone a little bit too far. But it works really well because it's got the citrus, it's got the smoke, it's got the vanilla, it's got like a honeyed element to it as well. It's banging. Oh, I was going to talk again then, but oh my god, like dolly mixtures. I think what stands out for me, it's a bit like Compass Box Orchard House, because quite a few people disagreed with my choice for Whisky of the Year last year. And I'll be honest, I don't really care, because it's my Whisky of the Year. I'm not saying that means you should buy it or that everyone should agree. It's just, for me, it left a lasting impression, and that kind of is what made it my Whisky of the Year. This, I already know for a fact, this is getting nominated this year. It's out there. But it shares that kind of similarity to it in the sense that I love it. I just love it straight away, off the bat. It doesn't need me sitting here and overanalyzing it. If I wasn't here with the camera, I'd have probably just put that in a nosing glass and said exactly the same stuff. Not out loud, because I'd sound like a nutter in a room on my own. But it's just very, very well put together. They've picked some really good drams. I can't tell you what's in here. I'm not good enough at flavour identification or spirit identification to tell you some of the contributing drams in here. I really can't. I'm not that good. I'm not good at all, really. But, I mean, understandably, I've kind of said it reminds me a little bit of Clynelish in some ways, and there's some Springbank elements in there. I'm not saying for 1 minute this has got either of those whiskies in there, but I love what they've done with what they've put in this. I really do. I love it. Non-chill filtered, no added colour, 48.5%, 35 notes. What's not to love? 8 years old. Nothing wrong with a younger spirit. I mean, sometimes whiskies are better at 8 years old than they are at bloody 25. A lot of whiskies, I prefer a lot of 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds to 18s and 20s. Loch Lomond 12 being a prime example, I prefer that to their 15 and 18. They're 18. And, again, like Glen Scotia. I love the Glen Scotia 15. And it's a quarter of the price of, I think, maybe half the price of the 18. Certainly a quarter of the price of the 25, at least. And kudos. That's all I can say. That is banging. Absolutely banging. Is it going to be a whiskey that you're going to sit there and overanalyze to death, probably like I've just done, and say, this is the finest whiskey I've ever tasted in my life? No. I'll be honest. However, I absolutely love drams like this, and I remember these kind of whiskies more fondly because I can experience them more than once. I know that other people out there are experiencing them as well, which for me is part of the importance of whiskey. We talk a lot about people and how it's a big community, but when people sit there and, people like me as well, sit there and rave about a whiskey that costs upwards of 60 quid, 70 quid, not everyone can or will want to spend that kind of money, and I get that. 35 quid, that beats a lot, if not all, of the stuff that you'll see on a supermarket shelf into a cocked hat. It will kick it into a cocked hat and then take the cocked hat to a local recycling centre where it'll be recycled into little rags and then made into something else, which you can then kick again. It's honestly banging. Now, this is actually batch 6. So I'm kind of late to the party with this. I am. for those of you that watched, and I will wrap up soon, don't worry. For those of you that watched me do the blind challenge with Scott and Julie, co-Dram Faces, along with a few guys from the YouTubeverse in the form of Ben, two Bens actually, and Vin at No Nonsense Whisky. Here's to all of you, by the way. You'll probably know, you might recall that I think I put this either middle of my pack or towards the back of my favourites. Now, that's the advantage of blind tasting. You never know what you're drinking. You don't get the association with it, whatever else. In fairness, I voted, turns out, White Peak Small Batch as being my favourite of the night. And it was. I voted Glenlivet my second favourite of the night because it was. I hadn't tasted it before, and as you will see from my Glenlivet review from a couple of weeks ago, it's a lovely drop, and it's really, really interesting and engaging and unusual. So it's all about context. It's all about, I think with blind tastings, it's all about context. It's all about enjoyment of the experience as well. And this is an enjoyment of, an experience of enjoyment, hands down. Absolutely fantastic. And there's going to be plenty of people out there enjoying this and saying very similar things, I would like to think. And that's the important thing. Many, many people can get hold of this. And I advise you, if you are sitting on the fence about it, shall we say, because I know money's tight at the minute, split if you don't want a full bottle, split it with a couple of mates or something, chip in, 10 quid each, maybe a little bit more, £11.50 or 12 quid each or whatever it'd be to make it up to the 35 quid between the three of you, and give it a shot. It's a lovely little dram. It really is a lovely little dram. Love it, love it, love it. So guys, on that note, I'm going to box it off. So thanks again to the guys at the Thompson Brothers, to Simon and Phil, for making this for a start. Thank you all for watching as well. I do appreciate it. I really, really do appreciate having you all around. Hopefully pretty soon you'll see me in new surroundings, but as has been the case for the last 12 months, it's not happening anytime soon, so we'll see. And yeah, I mean, if you want to subscribe, feel free. As usual, I'm not precious about it. It'd be great to have you along for the ride. I'm on Twitter @Maltbox, Instagram @MaltboxWhisky. Thanks for watching. See you soon.